Hi everyone, it's Ian here from Bodyweight Performance Coaching, and today we're going to be talking about how you can stop self-sabotaging and develop into a much more capable person. So we're talking about self-sabotage here, and there are a lot of ways you can understand self-sabotage. It's a pretty big bucket. Let's just say we're talking about anytime that you have some sort of goal, something that you're pursuing, and that will delineate towards behaviors which move you closer to that goal, and away behaviors, as those that will move you away from that goal. And self sabotage would basically be engaging in a sort of persistent habit pattern of away from behaviors, particularly once you feel as though you're starting to make progress. It's almost as though that feeling of progress is triggering you to start engaging in these away from behaviors regularly, to the point where it ruins your progress, it derails you, and suddenly it feels as though the goal is getting further away. In order to understand what's happening here, I want to introduce something called internal family systems. This is a very well documented, very well researched, very repeatedly proven clinical model for treating all sorts of pathologies and whatever issues people have. And so I encourage you to look it up, do your own research on it. And I found it very, very useful in working with myself and working with my coaching clients. So internal family systems basically describes the healthy human psyche as being multiplicate, as in it has more than one part. There's not a unitary human psyche. There is healthy psychic multiplicity, meaning we have many different parts that make up our psyche. And these parts come from challenges we faced in the past, traumatic experiences, things that we've gone through. And they are essentially, you could think of them like software or a program or an algorithm that we created at some point in the past in order to help us deal with some sort of challenge that we didn't feel equipped to deal with at the time. And once they're created, they don't just disappear, they hang around. And often they end up gumming up the works later on in life because they don't evolve on their own. They require concerted effort, conscientious, you know, application of methods in order to help them evolve. They can, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. They can make such evolutions, but it doesn't just naturally happen. Often they're stuck. They're stuck in the time and place and situation where they were created, and that is also what triggers them. Whenever you were exposed to a situation that's similar to the one that they were created to deal with originally, they get triggered, they come into play, and they sort of take over, and then you have these parts essentially driving the bus, even though they might start driving you away from the direction that you really want to be going, the destination that you have in mind. So their intentions, and this is very important, their intentions are good. They're trying to help. It's just that their understandings of the world in which you're living and who you are outdated. These parts don't know that you're an adult now, that you're much more capable, that you can take care of yourself. They still probably see you as a child stuck in a situation that is overwhelming. The first step you have to take in dealing with these parts is to identify them, obviously. And this alone can be very, very helpful. Awareness on its own can be transformational. So identifying them. And along with identifying them, a very helpful step you can take would be to name them, to give them a name, to say like, oh, that's anxious Ian, right? Or that's angry Ian, or okay, and you don't need to, use your own name like I am here, but it can help. Alliteration can help. You want something that's a little bit catchy, something that's sort of easy to call to mind. Giving them a name allows you to take a step back from them, right? Without a name, they are you, and you are experiencing them subjectively. You're experiencing them from the inside, looking out. But once they have a name, you can now look at them objectively as an object with some psychic distance and sort of point to that thing. It's very difficult to deal with things that you can't name, you can't identify linguistically. So we're going to give them a name. Now, other approaches, things like acceptance and commitment therapy, would encourage you when these things show up to sort of dismiss them. Okay, say, oh yeah, thanks, there you are again, anxious Ian. Okay, that sort of dismissive attitude towards them. And this can absolutely work to keep you on track. Let's say I'm engaged in some activity, it's a towards activity. Suddenly I start feeling anxious about whether it's actually going to turn out the way that I want, and that prompts me to sort of slow down, to maybe back off, to maybe not engage quite so forthrightly with it. And I could say, oh, anxious Ian, yeah, I see what you're doing. No thanks. That sort of dismissive attitude. And again, this would help me to get back into the, towards activity that I'm engaged in, which is a positive thing. But the IFS model is going to allow us to take this a step further. It's going to encourage us to remember that our parts have good intentions. Not only do they have good intentions, but they also harbor resources. They harbor energy. They harbor capacities that can be very useful if we turn them from detractors into allies. And that's the process that I really want to outline for you here today. How do you turn those parts into allies so that, let's say, that anxious part of yourself, right? It's bringing something of value. It's just has an outdated mental model about how to apply that thing for you. Once it now knows that you're a capable adult who's able to handle the situation, maybe that anxiety can be translated into something like wise caution or circumspection that will help you to actually be more effective. It's just you need to give it that role. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, in order to gain an ally, we're going to follow a four-step pattern here that follows the acronym GAIN, G-A-I-N. G-A, yeah. Okay, the first one, we start with a G, is a greeting. So you're going to greet the part. Okay, and this is where the name comes in handy. And you say, oh, hi, anxious Ian. I see that you have come to the party. That sort of thing. Okay, we're trying to be a gracious host here. We're not trying to push it away. After you greet it, you're going to offer appreciation. That's A, appreciate its intention. Okay, thanks for coming. I know you're trying to help. So we're trying to make it feel welcome. After that, you're going to the I, which is invite it to stay. So unlike what I talked about before with acceptance commitment therapy, where you're essentially dismissing it and pushing it away, we are going to invite it to stay. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Come on in. You can stay. But then finally, and this is where we turn things, we have the N, which is notify the part who's in charge here. Okay, and this is not, you're not trying to deride it, put it down. You're not being aggressive. You're being assertive in a healthy way. You're just letting it know you're welcome to stay, invitation. And also, I'm going to take the lead here. I've got this. Leave it to me. You're the audience. You're riding on the bus. You're not driving. Okay? So that's greeting. That's appreciate its intention. Invite it to stay. And notify it who's in charge. Okay, now, will this fix your self-sabotage the first time you try it? If it does, well done, fantastic. Let me know in the comments. But, this is a practice. This is something that you will have to probably run through a few times, several times. Just keep in mind that the goal here is to assure that part of yourself that you can take care of things, that it's being taken care of, that it is safe, that it can contribute without taking over. And over time, this is how you're going to develop into a much more capable person. You're going to take the skills, the capacities, and the resources that these parts previously sort of held in custody and used to sabotage your efforts. And you're going to turn those into your own resources and capacities. And this is the basic pattern, the basic flow of human development. You are integrating differentiated skills or capacities or actions, capabilities into something that's aligned towards where it is you want to go. Okay, now I don't want to get too deep into all that stuff, but that's your framework. And so I hope that it's helpful. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions. If you're interested in getting in touch or anything like that, learning more, we got a Facebook group down below. There's also programs that are focused on getting your physical state into where it needs to be, because if your physical and physiological substrate is all messed up, it's pretty hard to be psychologically in the right frame of mind, the right stance regarding the world, your life, and where you're trying to get to. So take a look at those, and thank you so much for your attention. I really do appreciate it. Keep in mind that elite performance is always up to you. It's nothing more than a choice. So what choice are you going to make?